final lecture by Professor Waka.
Okay, so this was the statement I had arrived yesterday, the main result that I wanted to explain. So this is the positive answer to the Borel-Fleger question. That is in this round where the dimension is not smaller than n over 2. So the Borel-Fleger question had been asked in cohomology, but we prove as well the result in the setting of Chow groups and over any field of characteristic 0, particularly not algebraically closed. So today I'm going to explain the strategy. Everything is rather, in some sense, simple-minded, and I will, to start with, I will explain a mild, small generalization of the proposition I wrote yesterday, which was concerning images of general complete intersections under a smooth morphism. And the generalization is, so the first step of the first step of the strategy is to establish the following generalization of that proposition. Essentially, the generalization is that I allow the morphism to be flat instead of smooth. So maybe you recall that a morphism f from y to x, where both y and x are smooth, is flat if it is equidimensional. Of course, it's maybe not the right definition in general, but for us, this will be the important property. And the proposition is as follows. So let y x be smooth. Dimension of y is n, so there are algebraic varieties of our field. Okay. So the dimension of x is n, and let f from y to x be flat, proper or projective morphism. Then, if z contained in y is a general complete intersection of ample, very ample hypersurfaces, and the dimension of twice the dimension of z is smaller than n, which is the dimension of x, the restriction is an embedding. So f of z is smooth. Okay, so this is the proposition. And yesterday I wrote exactly the same proposition, except that f was smooth. So let me explain. I should be careful. I think no. It's a transversality result. The important, I could give a more precise statement, but the important fact for us is that this z passes through any 2 points with essentially any possible tangent space. So you really want that. So I don't think that the base point for you will be enough. Let me make a small remark that we need an assumption. I mean, if you remove flat, that won't be true. So maybe let me write here. So without flatness, of course, such a statement cannot be true. The simplest example, if you consider for f the blow up of a point. Okay, so for example, you consider something like this. Okay, and here you have an exceptional divisor A. Your complete intersection will contain this A, so you will have your Z intersected with A, which will be a divisor in Z, which is contracted to a point. So clearly that cannot be an embedding. Okay, so but of course here the blow up of a point, it's not flat. Okay, so we need that assumption, and indeed, how it is used in the proof, it's very easy. It's as follows. So the point is that, the set theoretic statement, I say that f restricted to z is an embedding. In particular, I want to show that f restricted to z is injective. After that, I have to check that it is an immersion at any point. It's a different problem. But this is equivalent to say that if you consider z cross z inside y cross y, and here you go to x cross x, you want that, so this is ff. We want that ff minus 1 of delta x intersected with z cross z is contained in the diagonal of z. That's an equivalent statement. And the point is that the flatness, so of course the diagonal, so this is the diagonal of x. The diagonal of x has a codimension n, and because f is flat, the inverse image of the diagonal of x, which is here, inside, so it is now contained in y cross y, okay, has also codimension n, simply by flatness. And now this is finished because the point is that my z being a general complete intersection, away from the diagonal of z, you see that this cycle moves arbitrarily. And so you have this intersection that we have here. So here you get a transverse intersection. Transverse intersection away from the diagonal of z. And this is finished because I have something that is of codimension n, and here I have something that is of dimension 2d. Okay. So transverse intersection, that means that the intersection will be empty, and so finally I conclude that this intersection away from the diagonal, it is empty. So that's it for the injectivity, and for the schematic statement, for the okay, so that means that you want that f restricted to z is an immersion. Well, basically that means that if you consider the P of Tz inside P of Ty, you want that this thing does not intersect P of Ty over X whatever it means, basically they are all the tangent vectors which are vertical, so that is that satisfies this. Well, this does not have a good structure because the rank of F lower star may jump, but this is what we want. Now the crucial point is that, of course, to make sense of this, you should stratify the y into strata yk, where the rank of F lower star is exactly k. And this is the difference between the smooth case and the flat case. In the smooth case, of course, the rank is everywhere maximal, it is n. And then it's immediate to conclude. Here we have to consider stratum by stratum. So over each yk, you can make sense of this. So, okay, now this is actually a vector bundle. You know the rank. But the crucial point is this: the fact that yk, it is the locus where the rank of f is k, and you know by SARD or something similar that f of yk, it's the dimension of f of yk is none greater than k, because the rank of f restricted to yk is smaller than k at any point. And once you know this, by flatness, you get a bound on the dimension of the yk itself. Simply because you know that all the fibers are equidimensional, so once you bound the image, you also bound the dimension of k. And so now you bound the dimension of yk, and then you bound the dimension of these things, and finally you check that your P of Tz, again by transversality, it is here that I use the fact that I am considering a general complete intersection of very ample hypersurfaces. This is to get the transversality of intersection. I finally conclude. Okay, so and this is the end of the proof. And so now we are going to consider we are going to use this proposition to rephrase, in fact, the theorem A. So I introduce so CHD of X. Sorry, so this is, now I want to consider. Okay, so by definition, that will be the flat push forward of cycles of Chern tape. Okay. By definition, that will be the group, well, so of course it's contained in CHD of X. That will be the subgroup of CHD of X generated by the F lower star of CHD of Y Chern tape for any proper and flat or projective flat morphism F from Y to X and Y is smooth. Here I consider only the cycles of Chern tapes, and the point is that as I explained yesterday, the cycles of Chern tapes we can also write them using the Segre classes as push forward, the smooth push forward of intersections of divisors over some projective bundles. So finally, that will be also the subgroup generated by the cycles of the form F lower star of product of divisors on Y for, of course, for F Y as above. Okay, because I explained that these cycles of chain tapes themselves, they are obtained by pushing forward self-intersections of Hopf tape line bundle on some projective bundle. So we have this class of cycles, okay, which a priori gives more than the cycles of chain tapes that we have been considering before. And what tells the proposition A is so it says exactly the fact that cycles of this tape, of a flat push forward tape, are smoothable. Of course, if 2D is smaller than n. Okay, so we got a criterion. So this is saying that this actually is contained in here. And finally, our main result is we will be able to forget about this theorem A. So it follows from the fact that for any x smooth, let's say smooth projective, it's not very important, and for any integer d, without this Whitney inequality that 2d is smaller than n, CHD of x, all cycles, in fact, are of this type. So this is saying that this class of cycles that we have been constructing, sort of thing intermediate between chain tape and all cycles, in fact, that gives you everything. Okay, and so, of course, the theorem A follows when 2D is smaller than n by applying this corollary.
So the theorem of CHD bracket X smooth is the statement.
X is smooth projective, yes.
No. C is the equality, the left hand side equals CHD bracket X smooth.
C.
CHDX is small.
No, that's the key point. What our interest is in here. What I explain is that there is a criterion for being smoothable. The criterion for being smoothable is being here. Okay? And what I am saying is that finally all cycles are of this type. Okay? Okay, so in my mind, this statement is more interesting simply because it concerns all cycles of any dimension. So we don't have to worry about this inequality of dimensions. Okay, so this is what I am going to concentrate on. Okay, and Yes, maybe a small, yeah. Bon. So for the proof of theorem B, which I am now I will concentrate on this. So we are going to study the functoriality properties of these cycles. So there are two obvious functoriality properties. One is that if you have a flat with a yx smooth, then flat proper, then phi lower star of the cycles of a flat push-forward tape on Y are also on a flat push-forward tape on X. That's obvious because you look at the definition and the composition of a phi with any flat morphism here. Maybe this Y is a little confusing, so let me write it like this. Okay, if you see, you have something, a Y over here, which is flat, and then you compose with phi, it will be still flat. So that's, okay, so that's the first obvious fact. The second, slightly less obvious fact, but that follows from one version of the projection formula, that if phi from x prime to x is smooth morphism, then phi upper star, now it's something that preserves the codimension, preserves the cycles of a flat push-forward. Flat push-forward tape. Okay, so I don't try to prove it's really not very hard. But of course, we want to go much further, and the true new statement that is going to give much more functoriality is the following. This is saying that if G from Y to X is the inclusion of a smooth hypersurface, again, I assume, for example, X smooth projective, then G lower star of cycles of a flat push-forward tape on a Y is contained in cycles of a flat push-forward tape on X. And of course, now it's non-trivial because the G is the inclusion of a hypersurface, so it's not flat, so there is something to say. And the proof, and this is here that you see that the interest of having this proposition A that uses flat morphism instead of a smooth morphism. This is going to appear exactly here. So So we do the following. I consider the graph of the inclusion. Okay, so gamma G is contained in Y cross X, and it is smooth because it is isomorphic to Y. And we'll consider the blow-up of Y cross X along this gamma G. Okay, so of course it is smooth. And furthermore, it has two proper morphisms, which I call P and Q. Okay. Of course, this is all factorized through Y cross X, and here you have the projections. And so the proof of proposition B will follow from we have the following lemma. First of all, P is smooth, and second, Q is flat. And to see this, P is smooth, it's almost obvious, so the fiber P minus 1 of a point here is just X blown up at the point G of Y, so it is smooth, so smooth fibers. Okay. And for Q, for the second statement, so now I look at the fibers. You see that this T is smooth, so to check that that the Q is T is smooth and the X is smooth. To check that Q is flat, I just have to check that the fibers are equidimensional. So I look at the fibers, and what is the fiber? It depends on it depends on whether X belongs to G of Y or not. So in fact, it is isomorphic to Y if X does not belong to the image, and Q minus 1 of X, it is the union because we view, of course, we analyze the fiber here, and then we have to see what happened under blow up, and if X now is the image of a point here, Q minus 1 of X is maybe, yeah. So it is simply the union of the blow up of Y at the point Y, and also, of course, you have you see you have the exceptional divisor E in T over okay. So this is the same as Y, and the fibers here it's so because the pullback of the tangent bundle of X, it is simply the normal bundle of gamma G in Y cross X. So you also have the exceptional fiber here, which is P of Tx at the point G of Y. So this is of dimension, so it's n minus 1. But this is also, this is a Pn minus 1. And so the conclusion that we may have singular fibers, but they are all of dimension n minus 1. So the morphism is flat. Okay. And now this is once we have this lemma, it's formal to prove the proposition B. The point is that if you have an alpha, which is in a CHD of y of a flat push-forward tape, we want to compute G lower star alpha. And one way to compute this is as follows. So it is up to a sign, which might be minus 1 to the n, or to the n minus 1, I don't remember. Of Q lower star. Here you do P upper star alpha, and here you intersect with the class of the exceptional divisor to the n. Maybe I don't want to explain the proof of that formula, but basically this is coming from the fact that you have to do a little bit of the projection formula. And the key point is that we have this blow-up morphism that is here. By definition of the, well, maybe not definition, it's an excess formula, a standard excess formula. We have that. So we have this equality of cycles in y cross x, and we know that the G upper star of the G lower star of alpha is just letting the correspondence gamma G act on alpha. You write your correspondence gamma G as a pullback of this top self-intersection, and finally, via the projection formula, you get this. And now this is very good because alpha is here. As P is smooth, so when I push it, I pull it back to T. It is in this one. It is in the CHT here. I intersect with divisor classes. Obviously, that I am still staying in the same class, and I push forward by something that is flat. And I already explained that I can always. I have stability under a flat morphism. And so this is okay. So that proves the proposition B. And it turns out that this proposition has plenty of corollaries, easy corollaries, but I mean, you can it looks innocent, but finally there are many consequences. In fact, I would say it's very similar to some dévissage technique, or even earlier some techniques that appear in Hirdebroer book on topological method in algebraic geometry. So once you have something for line bundles, for divisors, you can do plenty of consequences. And so in some sense, this is well known. So I'm going to explain some consequences of proposition B. So maybe I don't need this anymore. So let me introduce some terminology. I say that W containing X is CBS, that means complete bundle section. This is a very small generalization of the notion of complete intersection. So that means simply that if W is the zero locus of section of a vector bundle on X of rank R, and I want this to be transverse, and so I want that the codimension of W is exactly R. The case of complete intersection is exactly the case where the vector bundle A is a direct sum of line bundles, but I will need this. And the corollary one says the following. Let W be the inclusion of a smooth CBS. Then again we have stability of the cycles of flat push-forward tape under this G lower star map. So G lower star of CHW of a flat push-forward tape is contained in CHX flat push-forward tape. So you note that the proposition B is simply exactly the case where the rank is 1. So yes, I have some time, so I can explain. It's very short. It's by a sort of a refinement of the splitting principle that you can go from the line bundle case to the higher rank case. So let me do it quietly. So okay. Now the point is that so we have your vector bundle and you have your section, and you have your W, which is the vanishing locus of your section, and which is smooth. And so what you can do is this: you consider P of A dual. This is anti-Grothendieck notation. So on this P dual, you will have the quotient. Okay, so that means that your pi upper star S is going to give you a section of this hopeful line bundle. So, okay, and now you get a hypersurface which is smooth. So it is a smooth hypersurface. And the point is that this smooth hypersurface, it contains, of course, the whole vanishing locus of S, which is this. Okay, so you have this inclusion, of course, but the important point is that you have this. Okay, and so So this is obvious because W is the vanishing locus of S, so certainly the complete pre-image is contained in the vanishing of S tilde. Now, this inclusion is of a codimension R minus 1, but the fact is that this is a smooth CBS inside this one. And this is very easy because you have this, here you have a kernel. This has rank R minus 1, so you have a rank R minus 1 vector bundle on P of E star. And when you restrict to this hypersurface, so the S tilde restricted to V of S tilde, it becomes a section of K, by definition. So the conclusion finally is that this now, it is a smooth CBS of codimension R minus 1 inside this one. And now we do induction for these two inclusions. So now I start from a class in W. I am going to put I am allowed to push it to pull it back to here because it is smooth. I apply the first functionality property. Here this is CBS of codimension R minus 1, so it works. I can apply induction. Here it is the codimension 1 case, also it works. So the conclusion is that the conclusion is that the pullback of classes of W to first to here and then to here, that gives me cycles of flat push forward tape. And finally, I reproject to X. And so, of course, I have to intersect with the O of 1 line bundle, R minus 1 times, and reproject. So maybe I don't want to write the whole thing, but the place where induction on codimension on the rank is done is here. So, okay, so this is good. And so maybe I also write here the corollary too. The corollary 2, that will be in fact a corollary of corollary 1. That is saying that if you have again the inclusion, so it's exactly as before. And now you are going to consider the morphism, the blow up of X along W. So, okay, again something that is definitely not flat. Then this morphism, this is a two lower star morphism, maps cycles of, so maybe call it X tilde. Okay. In some sense, this corollary is still easier than so this is actually an immediate consequence of this. So maybe so instead of considering P of A dual, I am considering now P of A. And so you have your P of A over X, again, anti-Grothendieck notation. So now the section that I have here, it gives me a rational section that I call, say, S bar, from X to P of A. And the indeterminacy, S bar. So the indeterminacy locus of this S bar is obviously the vanishing locus of S. So this is W. And what is very easy to see is that BL, so now the blow up of X along W, it is the image of this S bar map, and furthermore, and this is a smooth complete bundle section in P of A. And which bundle you have to now? You see that this is now this thing. So you have this copy, this S bar of BLW X contained in P of A. This has codimension R minus 1. And in fact, the vector bundle, it's quite easy. It's on. So now I am working with this one. So I have a sub vector bundle of rank 1. So this is a hopeful bundle with a quotient F. And of course, the section S here, it maps to a section SF so no, maybe it's pi upper star S. It maps to a section SF of F, and it's immediate to see that this image here, it is it's just a vanishing loss of this. And now this is finished because I want to compute this to lower star from CHD of the blow-up. And what I am saying is that these factors like this, okay, I have this inclusion that is here, maybe I call it I. And okay, and now it's so that means that this tau lower star I could factor it as pi lower star composed with I lower star. This pi lower pi is just a smooth morphism, so no problem. And this I lower star, it is the inclusion of a smooth CBS, so I can apply corollary. Okay, and the last corollary will be the following. So it's a consequence of either corollary 1 or corollary 2. Now let Z be a connected component or the irreducible component. Of smooth CBS. Of course, the Z itself is just a connected component. I don't know if it is the zero locus of a section of a vector bundle. Usually not. And And nevertheless, the statement that the class of Z is of a flat push-forward tape. For example, why that? Because, you know, I have my Z here. You have to complete it into, so the W, it's the whole thing. The W is smooth, and so I can consider this morphism, which is exactly of the category that I have here. And inside this, I have the exceptional divisor over Z. And of course, you get that Z is a plus or minus tau lower star of A to the C, where C is a codimension. So we have this. Now the E, it's a divisor class, so its power E to the C, it is of Chern tape. And now I apply tau lower star, and this is exactly the kind of morphisms that are allowed here, and that leave the cycles of a flat push-forward tape stable. Okay, and so that finishes the proof. And now the end of the proof. Now I come to the proof of theorem B using these corollaries. The theorem B now will be a consequence of theorem C, which has nothing to do with the rest of the talk. It is, well, I think it is interesting in itself. Sorry. What says the theorem C? It says that if you start from something that is smooth, probably not a CBS, no reason, then after a certain number of blow-up, which are all of this tape, you can essentially make your proper transform of Z into maybe not a CBS, but a connected component of a CBS. Okay, so let's, okay, Z is smooth. And there is a condition here. You will see in a minute why it is not very important. Okay, of course, X moves to. Then there exists a sequence of okay, so there are all morphisms of this tape that are blow up along smooth all to I are blow-ups of smooth along smooth CBS center. Okay, such that the proper transform says the tilde of Z is a connected component or irreducible component of a smooth okay, so there is this result. Maybe if I have some time, I will just show you one picture. But let me explain now how what we have done here implies theorem B. So I suppose that first you have a Z contained in X, which is smooth, and we are in the situation of theorem C. So I apply theorem C, and I conclude that I get this Xn mapping to X, and here the tau, it is tau 1 composed, etc., with tau n. And I have this Zn, which is exactly as in this corollary tree, a component of a smooth CBS. And this is the proper transform of Z. So I get that the tau lower star of Zn is Z in CHD of X. And now this is finished because my Zn by corollary tree, because it is a connected component of smooth CBS. So the class of Zn belongs to CHD of Xn flat push forward tape. And by now by corollary 2, this morphism tau is a composition of morphisms that preserve classes of a flat push forward tail. Okay, and so this is finished in that case, and so you conclude that the class of Z is in here, and how to remove these assumptions is simply here I need a resolution of singularity. Any Z in X, maybe Z will be singular, maybe the dimension will be not okay. But I just desingularize and embed the resulting thing in a Pn, which is large enough. Okay. Now the Z tilde, it is smooth. It is inside something that is of large dimension, so I can assume that this condition is satisfied. So I will, by the previous step, I will get that the Z tilde, the class of Z tilde, is in CHD of X cross Pn flat push forward. And then I apply the projection from X cross Pn to X, and that is finished.
Is it the only place when you use characteristic zero, the recognition of singularity?
This is the second place, because the proposition A, as it is stated, it is wrong in characteristic 0, because you see, at some point I used this stratification by the rank. And I said stratification by the rank, it is excellent under flatness. I control the image of f of yk. And this is completely wrong. I could have inseparability in a non-zero characteristic. Now there is a way to fix that point, but as stated, it was wrong. In practice, you saw in the proof what are the non-flat morphisms that I use. There were this morphism Q, where I had possible singular fibers, but these morphism Q, they have no inseparability problems or things like that. So in fact, that part of the proof can work also in non-zero characteristic. Of course, the key point is the resolution of singularity at the very end here. And so to finish, I just want to explain you the proof, baby case of the proof of this, because it's so easy. Let's see. Maybe I don't need that anymore. So assume simply that the dimension of Z is 1. Okay? So it is a smooth curve. So my Z is here. The problem is that it is not a CBS. Okay? But still what I can do is that I can do this. So I put Z as connected as an irreducible component of a certain W, maybe W is not very good, T, which itself is a complete intersection. Curve. This process is just called liaison. So I will have a second component pairing, which is called the residual component. So T will be Z union T prime. And here I have a number. If you do this with a careful choice in a sufficiently generic way, the T prime will be also smooth. And the intersection here, you will have only as only ordinary double point. Okay, so these things become much more complicated in higher dimension, but in dimension 1, this is the situation. And so now I have these points. Of course, they are not, so let's call it P1, P2, etc., to Pn. Now the set P1, Pn is not itself. Maybe it's not a complete intersection, but I can always add points. Okay? I can always put this finite set of points inside a complete intersection of which is zero-dimensional, and I arrange the residual points to be away from my situation. Okay? So let W be okay, and I choose it to be a smooth complete intersection.